Lady de Clermont. Oh. Lady Montrose. We met at the late lamented Princess Charlotte's wedding. How could I forget?
Lady Susan was walking with Charlotte. It was a bit odd that she knows Lady Montrose met her before, but it shouldn't be a surprise to us because Lady Susan, she had that reputation where a lot of people know her. So it was a bit of a small world between Lady Montrose and Lady Susan colliding in Sanditon.
Oh, this is my daughter, Lady Lydia Montrose, and my son, Lord Montrose, the Duke of Buckinghamshire.
My friend, Miss Hayward.
It appears the entire au monde is here at Sanditon.
It got awkward near the end of the conversation. Lady Montrose and her family. I'm wondering if Lady Susan knows about this family past, especially the family reputation. We already know that the family escaped back England for a certain reason that forced them to come here to Sanditon.
I wonder if the newly crowned king might even pay a visit.
Who is to say? Although I have every reason to suspect he might.
I'm also wondering if Lady Montrose has something against Lady Susan, or she knows something about Lady Susan past. It's a bit interesting though how Lady Susan abruptly ended the conversation and continued walking with Charlotte.
Miss Hayward! Oh. I thought you were in Bath.
We were. Uncle packed up Harrick Park soon after you left.
Lady de Clermont, this is Mrs. Wheatley, Miss Markham and Miss Colburn.
Charlotte runs into Leonora and Augusta and Mrs. Whitley. What a timing with Lady Susan witnessing this event unfold in front of her. Leonora ran up to Charlotte. It just shows that she misses Charlotte. It's interesting how Augusta added in about how her uncle packed up and left Sanditon right after Charlotte left. So it was a signal to Charlotte, like, yeah, whatever happened in season 2, it affected greatly to Alexander in a way that he was very heartbroken and decided to leave Sanditon for some time.
How do you do, my lady?
Why did you leave so suddenly? You never even said goodbye.
Oh, Leo, I so wanted to, but it was difficult.
So Lady Susan is like getting like the first row seat in the audience watching this movie plays out. I'm pretty sure at this point Charlotte never told Lady Susan about Alexander and the deep details of what happened when Charlotte was their governess. So Lady Susan still learning, still catching up with Charlotte about what happened ever since Sydney. You know, there's a lot to catch up. And Leonora, very bold and very brave in confronting Charlotte, like why you didn't say goodbye, like why do you leave abruptly. And Charlotte, of course, she had the compassion and the sympathy for Leonora, and she knows that the way that it ended wasn't the best conclusion, especially for a job, as well as her relationship with Leonora and Augusta.
I regret the manner of my leaving.
But now you're back, will you be our governess again?
I'm sorry, Leo.
Why not?
Miss Colburn.
She wouldn't mind being the governess again. Like, she loved them so dearly, but with what happened in season 2, right? Like, of course she doesn't want to reverse and go back into her past. She is engaged now. She needs to look forward to the future with Ralph. And Mrs. Whitley, she looked a bit sad too, as she hearing this conversation between Leonora and Charlotte. She was affected by it too because she knew that Charlotte was the best governess that they ever had, and she was the best role model for those two girls, and she was potentially the best woman that Mr. Heybourne could have ended up with in marriage.
I'm only here for Miss Lamb's party tomorrow, and then I'll be returning home. It's wonderful to see your faces again. I miss you all.
It reminds me of that saying, don't burn the bridge when you leave a job, end a relationship, like you want to end it on a good note. So this was a good opportunity for Charlotte to make amends with Augusta and Leonora and Mr. Whitley, just to make sure that they don't hate her for the way that Charlotte left her job like that, without giving too many details, especially to Leonora.
Herrick Park has felt your absence too, Miss Hayward.
The entire house, Mrs. Charlotte, I'm pretty sure Mrs. Whitley meant Mr. Heybourne, Mrs. Charlotte too, and I think she got that indirect message from Mrs. Whitley. Mrs. Whitley knows that there's something special between Charlotte and Alexander, and she's like a second mom to Alexander, so she felt really bad when Charlotte left him and his family and left her governess job. Mr. Whitley knows how important Charlotte is, not only to the family but to Mr. Heybourne himself. Okay, I wish I can play all the scene, but you know, YouTube and the time consuming, I don't want to hold you that long. This scene, Tom and Mary are talking about Mr. Price. He is another new character to season 3, and he is a new investor in the possible new hotel in the future of Sanditon. And Tom is freaking out. Mary is being a very supportive wife to him right now.
I've repaired the church roof, rung the bells for morning service, mucked out Moses, the Hankinshire horse, and have found great purpose in my labours. I must thank you, Aunt.
I really, really wished that Edward would be a changed man in season 3. He will always be the bad guy. So watching this scene, like, you know, you can't trust him because he can be so persuasive and he can be sneaky, evil, all at the same time, and he can easily trap a person to believe in him, especially someone that really doesn't know him that well. But he did a lot of work though. He mentioned those duties that he had been doing.
When I look back at the miserable wretch that I once was, I feel only the deepest shame. But now, it's as if I'm reborn. I only hope you can see evidence of that for yourself.
Like the word reborn, I mean, that's like spiritual, like he really trying so hard to convince his aunt that he learned his lesson and that he understands what he did wrong and that he is a better man and that he's not gonna make these mistakes again.
I remain unconvinced. And yet both Dr. Fox and Mr. Hankins seem to think that you have made a modicum of progress.
But Lady Denham, she is a tough woman. She is taking her time with her program in punishing her nephew. She wants to make sure that Edward deserves to receive every punishment that she can think of, punishment methods that she could think of. She is not playing around, and Edward has a long way to go.
I'm grateful to both of those gentlemen. If I could, I would subject myself to their ministrations forever.
There is no way in hell that Edward would continue the program and continue working with Mr. Hankins and Dr. Fuge. He's the type of guy, Edward, that would run away when he hears.
And I abide by the original terms of our arrangement. Once I have observed consistent evidence that you are reformed, I will grant you a living.
My dearest aunt, you are kindness itself.
And do not take advantage of her kindness, Edward. But yeah, again, like I think it will be a long way to go for Edward to complete this detention program. it's a matter of the heart, right? And if he wants to make it right, he's gonna show it. If he doesn't want to make it right, he's gonna fake it, and that will hunt him back.
But in the meantime, if I catch even the vaguest hint of anything immoral, or find you up to your old buckish ways, then you can consider our contract broken.
It's like karma, you reap what you sow. So let's see how well Edward does in the continuation of the program and working with the doctor and the police.
And for now, you can accompany me into town. I shall need someone to carry my purchases.
That's so obvious that real Edward, at the end of the scene, that he's just like really annoyed at the fact that his aunt hired him to carry her shopping bag when someone else could have done it. So it shows that he really truly faking it. He faking it really well for now, trying to look like he is innocent now, and that he made it right, and that he is an angel boy in front of his aunt. But she is not easy to gain praises from. She has a tough shell, and it would take a lot of work for Edward to prove to her that he is a good man, which I don't think he'll ever be.
Mr. Price? Parker? Indeed, sir. Mr. Tom Parker, at your service.
You've kept me waiting damn near half an hour, man.
My humblest apologies, sir.
Tom was half an hour late, seriously? Yike. Back in those days, they didn't have cell phones. Anyway, Mr. Price, this is his introduction. My first impression of him, though, I'm like, yeah, he's gonna be a tough guy to work with.
How was your journey?
Long, hot, cramped, and generally excruciating, so this better be worth it.
I assure you it will be, sir. It is.
Definitely an old, grumpy man. He seemed to have a negative outlook in life. He complained a lot of things about his journey to Sanditon.
My honor to welcome you to Sanditon, the finest resort in the whole...
Stop flanneling, man, and get to the point. Ah, finally.
Tom Parker just trying to calm him down, try to get him relaxed, and look forward to this meeting that they're about to have, and have patience for this old man. Mary and Georgiana are on a shopping adventure, getting Georgiana ready for her party. Like I said before, it's a nice relationship these two women have. Mary is the closest thing to a mom that Georgiana has as of now.
You have no need to prove yourself to anyone.
Thank you. Perhaps I can order both and decide on a night.
Good afternoon, Miss Lamb.
Georgiana is truly pushing the plan to be single for now, or even for the rest of her life.
Why can't they understand I'm not in the least bit interested?
I live in hope you'll meet someone who will change your mind.
Mary, she forcing her, but in a less annoying way. She's very encouraging. She hopes that Georgiana will find that true love and settle down and marry that special guy that she meant to be with for the rest of her life. Tom, he's a little bit more forceful when it comes to him reminding Georgiana, like, hey, like time is up, like time is running out, like you need to get married like really, really soon. You're turning 21, and I think it's more pressure now that she has 100% control over the money from her father.
I do believe I spy your heiress.
Your use of the possessive seems a tad presumptuous.
The mom is very determined to have her son go after Georgiana and to make her fall in love with Harry, and eventually the two get married. It's getting serious. Like, I guess the family really need money, and the mom is pushing Harry like every minute of every day. The mom watches Georgiana like a hawk.
It seems she is beautiful as well as rich. So you have no excuse, Harry. You must snaffle her before you're beaten to it.
I live only to serve you, Mother.
His body language though in the scene, it tells me that he really not interested in Georgiana. Maybe she is not his type. He doing this chasing after Georgiana just to satisfy his mom. It's tough, you know, living under your parents' rules, under your mom's roof, and she wants you to do something. You technically have to do it and fulfill her commands, and one of them is chasing after Georgiana and making her fall in love with Harry. And Harry seemed to be that guy that can be very attractive to women, and I think he can easily attract Georgiana. But Georgiana, he doesn't know how she is. She is a tough woman, and I think Harry and Georgiana would be an interesting dynamic if they do end up together.
How long were you their governess?
A few short months.
I couldn't help but notice you made no mention of your wedding to them.
Didn't seem relevant.
Lady Susan is a great listener, she's a great friend, but at the same time, she can like dig in and be sneaky in the good way and find more answer to match the puzzle and figure out the whole story of something. So she is trying to figure out what really happened in the past between Charlotte and Mr. Heybourne and Augusta and Leonora. She doesn't know yet the intimate details of what really happened between Charlotte and Mr. Heybourne just yet. And Charlotte trying to protect herself and trying to not release too many details all in one day to Lady Susan.
Charlotte!
Oh, Ralph. May I introduce Lady de Clermont, Mr. Ralph Starling.
How do you do, my lady?
Many congratulations, Mrs. Starling. You've made an excellent choice of wife.
It's kind of funny at the same time how Lady Susan already has some background information from Charlotte in regard to Ralph and what kind of guy he is and how they met and got engaged, and now she meets the actual Ralph face to face. And I wonder, you know, what's her first impression of him. But we already know that she's not truly satisfied that Charlotte is with Ralph. She thought that Charlotte would be with a man that is similar to Sydney, upper middle class at least.
I have bought you a present. It is Mr. Keats's new work.
Oh, you had no need to do that.
Even though what she said to Charlotte about marrying Ralph, she still respects Charlotte and her relationship with Ralph. They're very nice of her in complimenting Charlotte that she is the great woman, perfect woman to marry for Ralph. And then Ralph introduced this new book to Charlotte, and that's the author that they talk about with the Parker family the other night at dinner. What a thoughtful gift from Ralph. That's cost money, and that's a new book by that author. So that's a very, very thoughtful gift.
I wanted to. I thought we might read it together.
Even though it's a thoughtful gift, I keep looking at Lady Susan. She was like looking back and forth between Charlotte and Ralph. And I feel like she thinking like, okay, they here, but, you know, not the greatest guy for Charlotte. Charlotte, again, like I said in the first part review for this episode, Charlotte tends to release her facial expression very easily. Like, it's very noticeable that she tried to look happy to be with Ralph in front of everyone around them, but deep in her heart, she knows that Ralph is just an easy choice and that he is not the best guy for her. Arthur and Georgiana, I feel like their favorite hangout is eating at the restaurant. These two. Arthur is working so hard in planning Georgiana party. It's gonna be a really grand and beautiful party, and it just shows how much Arthur loves her as a friend.
Speaking of birds, the peacock approaches.
Miss Lamb, Lord Montrose, Duke of Buckinghamshire. I must thank you for the kind invitation.
Think nothing of it.
Harry is doing his duty to the service and country of his mom by going up to Georgiana right there at her restaurant table.
Mr. Parker is organising the party. I'm barely aware of inviting you.
May I presume to ask if you might take the air along the promenade tomorrow?
It's funny though, at first Arthur and Georgiana thought that he was one of those, another fortune hunter, but they knew who he was, and Georgiana expected Harry to try to ask her out or to do an activity together, and we already know that Georgiana is not interested in dating and trying to find a husband at the moment. She's very focused on her party, and it's really funny how she said that she barely remember inviting Harry, so she had no interest at all in Harry at the moment.
I fear Miss Lamb is otherwise engaged.
Even if I were not, the answer would be the same.
Arthur is very protective of Georgiana, especially when single men are humming at her like bees. Like at least once a day, a single man tried to hum up to Georgiana and try to ask her out. And here is another one humming from Harry.
Then I shall respectfully withdraw.
That was suspiciously easy.
Two different takes on this. One is Georgiana like, okay, that was super easy. Most men that chase after Georgiana, they're probably very annoying, very forceful, very demanding. And the way that Harry handled her no, maybe it will make her intrigued toward him, and maybe she'll be like, oh hey, maybe I should change my mind and say yes to him later on. Or it could be the other way around. Harry is not interested in Georgiana, and I'm pretty sure it's obvious that he's not interested in pursuing Georgiana, so that's why she left easily. He respectfully accepted her no and left the table in a nice manner without any argument. He smiled at them, he nodded goodbye, and respectfully left the table in a nice manner. And Arthur was very surprised about that too. It's just the attitude from Harry is different from most other men when they try to say hi to Georgiana or try to ask her out. Okay, why in the world the writers decided to have this moment? Did I expect Augusta and Edward to run into that and have that lovey-dovey eye contact and that first initial attraction, physical attraction? Like, isn't she way too younger than him? Yeah, so it was like out of the blue, in my opinion. She's too young for him, and she deserved a better guy than Edward. She had no idea who he really is and what he had done in the past. Yeah, this is like the first love thing, you know, when you like someone for the first time, like you go through those first time feelings and emotion and heartbreak. You know, those first things that you experience as a teenager or a young adult, and that's what Augusta is going through right now. It seemed like with Edward.
You cannot fall at the first obstacle, Harry. You're obviously not charming enough.
You will try again tomorrow. Redouble your efforts. And as for you, Lydia, the search continues.
His mom is getting really annoying. This is an important issue to the mom, and she's taking this very seriously to the point that she really doesn't hear about the efforts and the struggle and the harvest that Harry needs to have and to go through to get Georgiana to fall for him. Georgiana is not an easy woman to attract, to convince, to be interested in the man. It takes a lot of work to get Georgiana attention, especially after what she went through with Otis and Mr. Lockhart. So it's a tough game for Harry.
Mr. Arthur Parker is unwed, but of no great means. Sir Edward Denham is notorious as well as penniless, and Mr. Hankins hardly warrants a mention.
So, like, how did she get all those information, right? She must have talked to a lot of people in town. She might have observed these men and taken notes from the gossip and story that she hears in town about these men. Funny how she described each one of them, Arthur, like, out of the, like, he's not even, like, worthy to be on that eligible single man. He's not interested in marriage at all. The second one with Edward, like, he could have been a good one, but his behaviors are like something that Lydia doesn't want to deal with. And then Mr. Hankins, like, he's too old. And now, like, if you really think about it, like, there is one other man that is technically single in Sanditon. Okay, so Tom is giving a grand tour of Sanditon to Mr. Price. Tom is very excited for this possible new partnership with Mr. Price. Mr. Price seems to be that old grumpy man that doesn't know how to have fun and enjoy life.
You needn't butter me up, Parker. I have made my fortune by listening only to my gut. And at this moment it is telling me that I would be a fool not to invest in your hotel.
At first, he could have been a really tough guy to impress, right? That was Tom was freaking out when he told Mary about who this Mr. Price guy is. But Tom did a good job in the tour in explaining about the town and what he looked for in the new hotel for the town. And what he did, what he talked about, it impressed Mr. Price, and he agreed to form the partnership with Tom Parker, and that made Tom really, really happy.
Well, that is wonderful news, Mr. Price. All that remains is Lady Denham's approval, but that is a mere formality. I shall introduce you tomorrow.
One of my first impressions of Mr. Price, he's that type of guy that's always grumpy and doesn't smile often. He's just a very tough man to easily impress. But Tom made it. He did it. It's a successful mission. A major goal accomplished for him at that meeting with Mr. Price, and now Lady Denham had to get involved and just to declare this partnership officially in getting this new hotel for Sanditon.
You'll never guess who's returned to Sanditon.
Nope, I'm stumped.
Miss Hayward!
She said how much she missed us all.
I just want to capture that face of Mr. Heybourne. He did not expect to hear that from Leonora. It shifted everything for him in that moment. He's like, what? Like, I thought Charlotte left for good, like she's not coming back. It was like a good shock for him. It changed everything for him. I'm pretty sure his mind started to race and like, oh my goodness, like, is this like life telling me that I have a second chance with Charlotte? Like, should I go for it?
How much she regrets the circumstances of her departure.
Did she?
You always told us it was her decision to leave.
Mr. Whitley in the room, observing the facial reaction on Mr. Heybourne's face, funny how Mr. Whitley is always there within the family conversation. Mr. Heybourne, he's still in shock, and when Augusta said that Charlotte said she missed them all, to me, like, Charlotte meant she missed Leonora, Augusta, Mr. Whitley, and the servants of the household. So Mr. Heybourne is taking that statement from Charlotte like, oh, she missed me too. And that might backfire.
That was my perception.
Charlotte did love her job, but there was more to the story, right? Like, it wasn't Charlotte's fault. Mr. Heybourne made the first move. He was like, we shouldn't be dating, like, you an employee, I'm an employer, and then he tried to like make it right with her, and then he ruined it again. In the last episode of season 2, he's like, you know, maybe you should actually, you know, leave your job, like, for good. Like, you know, we shouldn't be, like, going back and forth. Like, we shouldn't be together, whether in this work relationship or in the personal romantic relationship. And that's when Charlotte, like, ended it for good between them. So technically, Charlotte did make the decision to leave her job, but it was all because of what Mr. Heybourne did to her.
You can't deny it, Mrs. Wheatley. You saw how he reacted to her name.
I am saying nothing.
What are you talking about?
I truly love this moment. Like, sometimes a movie or show, like, they throw in, like, some scenes that you really didn't expect to show up until it shows up on your TV. And this is one of those special scenes that we didn't expect, and I really like how the writers decided to put this in. It's just a nice family moment. Mrs. Whitley is always there for the family, and she wants the best for them, and she wants the best for Charlotte too. She knows that Charlotte deserves to be with Mr. Heybourne and the other way around too. But it's funny though that she's not giving in any input or her opinions about Mr. Heybourne's situation with Charlotte. But we all know that Mr. Whitley is a huge fan of Charlotte and Alexander to be together.
Your father and Miss Hayward are in love. I have long suspected it. That is why she left so abruptly. It all makes perfect sense.
But what does that mean?
And now we have another fan, Augusta, and she very smart. She picks up on it. If the audience can pick up on it, like, Augusta will be able to pick up on it. Augusta wants the best for her uncle too.
It means that before she leaves Sanditon, we must force them to acknowledge their feelings for one another.
And how do you intend to do that?
It's funny how Mr. Whitley is involved in this conversation indirectly, like, without offering her opinion or advice on this matter. She asked Augusta, like, oh, how are you gonna have your uncle and Miss Hayward in the same room? But we know that it's gonna happen one way or another.
Perhaps if we could get them to dance together. If only somebody was holding a party.
Mr. Heybourne needs to get an invitation to Georgiana's birthday party. Great way, great plan, a great excuse for him to go, and to hopefully have him in the same room as Charlotte.
Yes, you see, well, with all the apartments now taken, we're having to turn new visitors away, thank you. Hence the need for an elegant new hotel.
It's nice to hear these accomplishments that Tom Parker is having. He came a long way since season 1 in regards to building up the town and just having a successful return on his investment in this town.
Mm-hmm. I'm astonished that you have finally lived up to your promise, Mr. Parker. You have turned our town into a thriving resort.
Thank you.
And I believe you have secured an investor.
You don't get compliments from Lady Denham very easily in the world of Sanditon. So hearing her say those things to Tom in front of his wife, it's a very proud moment for Tom and Mary. Mary is very happy for Tom. She knows and understands how much Tom went through to get to this point.
Well, no ordinary investor, my lady. A veritable King Midas.
Does the gentleman have a name?
I believe that might be him now. Please excuse me.
Just made me remember that moment after Sydney's death and the first episode of season 2, Lady Denham telling Tom and Arthur, like, okay, how are you gonna get the money? Sydney, wife, widow, she put in her investment, her money into the town, and now Sydney died, so that's kind of like backfired their plans for the town. Tom went through a lot of financial struggles in season 1 as well as season 2. The gambling debts with Colonel Lennet, there was another obstacle, and now in season 3 he is rising up to the top.
Mr. Price, good morning.
Is it? Why?
Did he say Price?
Yes, Mr. Rowley Price.
I suddenly feel unwell. Where is your servant sent?
Mr. Price, again, he's very negative. Like, Tom greeted him cheerfully, good morning, and he's like, is it really a good morning? He just had that bad attitude, negative outlook in life, but that would make his personality, his character unique in season 3. Lady Denham, something is up.
What?
Where is your servant's entrance?
Oh, this way, this way.
This way, please, Mr. Price. My dear wife, Mrs. Mary Parker, is also in attendance.
Really close. Lady Denham almost got high. When I watched this, I was laughing my butt off because we never see Lady Denham run off like this. So it shows that she noticed Mr. Price, and it's something bad that made her want to run away from this meeting to avoid him. So something bad happened in her past with Mr. Price.
Lady Denham, allow me to introduce you to...
Unfortunately, Lady Denham was called away unexpectedly.
I usually take a nap this time of the day.
Lady Denham made sure that Mary did her job in protecting Lady Denham and to make sure that Mary was helping Lady Denham escape safely without Mr. Price noticing who Lady Denham really is. Mr. Price, again, he's very grumpy. He'd rather be taking a nap than having a meeting with them right now. Mary has no idea. She's like freaking out too. She's just like not thinking straight. Like, okay, you're telling me that you want to leave and you're telling me you want to go through the servant door. It's funny how like, you know, the servant has like their own door, their own entrance, and it's like, you know, no one really hears about that door, but now Lady Denham, who is a rich woman, she had no other avenue to escape this meeting except through the servant door, and no one goes through the servant door except for the servant. So it's funny how she used that servant door to help her escape from this meeting.
Will you tell Lady Denham, whoever she may be, that I do not care to have my sleep stolen for no purpose? Damned impertinence!
Mr. Price,
Poor Tom, he did not expect this. Mary did not expect this. Lady Denham, that name, it didn't ring a bell in Mr. Price's head, so maybe he doesn't remember her.
And she just ran away. I have never seen a woman of her years move with such alacrity. I cannot account for it.
Yes. Well, no matter. We shall invite Mr. Price to Georgiana's party tonight.
It was such a funny moment, and it became a funny story that Mary told Charlotte of what happened. Again, it was bad timing, bad moment for Tom. I feel bad for him because he was so looking forward to that meeting, and unfortunately, Lady Denham ruined Tom's chance to have a formal official partnership with Mr. Price. That's a mystery still. What's going on with Lady Denham in the connection to Mr. Price?
We shall sit them together, then she cannot escape.
Given your description of Mr. Price, might they not prove a rather combustible mix?
Well, as long as they're talking profit, I suspect she'll be all ears.
Charlotte and I are going to visit Mrs. Wilkins in the Old Town.
That's a very, very wise, sneaky move of Tom in planning to put Lady Denham seat next to Mr. Price. That's a good idea, but sneaky at the same time. Lady Denham would not like that at all.
We will meet you and Mrs. Starling at the beach.
Dearest heart, I cannot wait.
Do you notice how Charlotte looked over to Mary and Tom? Not only Tom and Mary have the great relationship, no matter the ups and downs they have, they love each other and they support each other in their own plans and dreams and goals in their own separate lives, but as together as husband and wife too. They are a great couple to look up to and what to look for in their marriage. This is an interesting storyline. I did not expect this in season 3, but I did like it though. I think it speaks a lot of good positive messages around this whole storyline. Charlotte and Mary are going to the Old Town. It just shows how humble Mary is. She is in that upper middle class. She does have enough money and she's living a great life with her husband and her family, and it's like giving back to the community, and that's what I see in this scene, what she's doing with Charlotte, bringing some food and supplies to this particular family in the Old Town.
You're too generous, Mrs. Parker.
Honestly, Mrs. Wilkins, it's the least I can do.
Oh, forgive the mess. If I'd known you was coming.
Not at all.
Jonas, don't do that.
Mary is a wife and a mom. She doesn't really have much going on other than those two roles that she have. She does support her husband in his business and in his investment in the town. She doesn't have that opportunity to have that great voice in what she wants to do, or she doesn't have that same power, that same position in doing business, for example. Like Tom could have had Mary as his business partner or his business consultant when it comes to the matters of the future of Sanditon and which building to build and whatnot. Women didn't have much power, didn't have much opportunity, position to hold over back in those days. So Mary is trying to find something to heal the time, try to find purpose, try to live life to the fullest, and she found something in doing this gesture to this family. It's not only kindness, it's something that she's very passionate about, something that she wanted to do, like to reach out to the community, to help the poor, probably like a non-profit organization. Like I can see her do that.
You wouldn't mind, would you, miss? It has been a bit overwhelming, if I'm honest. You always think one more won't make a difference.
I know what it's like. I'm one of 12.
Charlotte is very hands-on with that baby. I forgot that she from a big family, so she used to babies, and she is the oldest child in her family, so she's very natural around children. This is like a foreshadow of what to seeing Charlotte holding that baby right now. It's just really sweet and very real, pure. Like she's very natural about holding a baby. She has that motherly instinct, motherly nature about her, and I think it's just a nice little note from the writers, like what to expect later this season.
And what's your name?
Tess, and this is my sister Dora.
When I visit you next, I'll bring some books.
Will you teach me to read then?
Alas, Miss Hayward is leaving tomorrow.
This scene is a foreshadow of another purpose that the writers is trying to write into by the end of the season. We will talk more about that later on. I don't want to talk too ahead right now. I don't want to jump to episode 6 too quickly. One fun fact though, that younger daughter of the two girls, her name is Dora, and interesting enough, that's actually my mom's name. So I was very surprised that they used that name for that character.
Then she has to be married.
Well, congratulations, miss. Before you know it, you'll be just like me.
What a great encouragement from Mr. Filkin. Part of that is true, but I'm trying to read Charlotte's facial expression. I'm not sure if she wasn't too excited for that. If she does end up with Mr. Heybourne, I'm pretty sure she will want to have kids with him. I just remembered that Mr. Heybourne never actually have biological his. Leonora is his adoptive daughter, and Augusta is his niece, even though at the same time she is a daughter to him too because he is raising her. So I'm pretty sure that Mr. Heybourne and Charlotte will be open to the idea of having their own children someday. But my first impression of that look on Charlotte's face after Mrs. Filkin said that about having his, I think she was having second thoughts about getting married to Ralph. It's a huge commitment. If she does marry Ralph instead, she's stuck with him, and eventually she will have kids with Ralph if it does happen that way. Or with Mr. Heybourne, I think she's just having those second thoughts and overthinking, wow, I'm getting married, it's getting close, the wedding is almost here, am I making the right move, She has a lot on her mind in regard to her future with Ralph, and knowing that Mr. Heybourne is back in Sanditon, that put pressure on her. Or that let her have been Miss Hayward, she can be very independent, she can get a job if she wants to, so maybe she didn't want to have too many kids. I think she's that type of woman that to have a job and be a mom at the same time. So that could be another possible scenario as to why Charlotte had that look on her face. But of course, most of us, 99.99% of the fandom that is left of the show, I'm pretty sure most of us would rather have Charlotte have kids with Mr. Heybourne instead of Ralph. Alrighty, we are at the 30-minute mark. Do you know that those two men standing outside the Parker household kind of on purpose? They are very interested in Georgiana, and of course she's okay, bye. Arthur, he is trying so hard to make sure that this birthday party for Georgiana is the best one ever. He feels really bad about what happened with Lockhart and how he persuaded Georgiana to chase after Lockhart.
Mr. Price? Did you receive the invitation? I trust you will join us tonight.
I don't care for parties, Parker. They're far too clamorous for my liking.
I just noted that Ralph was carrying some item to the beach. He looked like one of the servants. His helped too, but it's just interesting how Arthur and Georgiana are just walking off with nothing in their hands, and Ralph is being very helpful, very hands-on with his, and helping carry the items. It could have been more servant, more maids doing that. Technically he is a guest, but it just shows how humble he is, even though he is staying at this really nice house, the Parker house. He stays humble and doesn't take advantage of living in this luxury house.
Thank you all the same.
Lady Denham specifically requested your presence there, sir. She was most apologetic for missing you yesterday.
Okay, so this is the last scene for this review, and we will continue in the next one. Tom Parker is very proactive. He's very quick on his feet in getting that invitation to Mr. Price. Mr. Price, he's an old man. He's not in the mood to go to parties.
Oh, very well. I dare say I could put in a brief appearance, but don't expect me to dance.
Tom, he successfully was able to get Mr. Price to go to the party, but Lady Denham will not like the setup that Tom did on her. Tom, technically, he did lie. He did lie to Mr. Price about Lady Denham wanting to meet Mr. Price at the party. We'll see how that goes. We will eventually reach Georgiana's birthday party in the next part of this episode 1 review. If you made it this far, thank you for your time. I know this is very long, but this is the last season and I want to go out with a bang, and just have fun, you know, talking about our show for the last time. See you very soon. As usual, give a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't. We have a long way to go until early summer when we wrap this Sanditon Trail 3. Comment. We'd love to hear your thoughts about these scenes or this episode in general. Yeah, it's a great season so far.